May I address the crowd?
Sure.
I'm going to sit.
Okay. Tell them your name.
My name is Dacker Thicke, and I'm here because Joe feels that I might benefit by this discussion.
So hold the mic up, Dacker. We
Oh,
want
I
you to hear.
forgot, because I don't hear you because I forgot my hearing
There you
aid.
go.
So I thought that I might benefit by this discussion, which I didn't agree with her. But then you approached a subject of which I happen to be an authority. You see, I have this sickness. I'm a compulsive giver. I have dedicated my life to giving to the less fortunate people. And that gave me pleasure. And when I say give me pleasure, the pleasure I got in giving was a selfish kind of generosity. I got inward pleasure that I couldn't normally get elsewhere. And so in the latter part of my life, I have been a giver. I'm not a taker. As a matter of fact, one of my failings is I will give, but I do not allow the people to thank me in return, because I'm not looking for thanks. I already get the thanks in the giving. This isn't a good story, you know, it's a sad story. But anyway,
It's a relevant story.
well, I moved to Mexico. And in Mexico, I continued being a giver. I built a clinic. I happened to have this, and I wasn't planning on coming here. One of my material things, I had a fleet of boats which I built. There's one missing there. And among other things, I had everything I needed. I had money, not much, but I was a big shot, what a big fish in a little pond, I don't know which way you reverse it, but I had a good life because I enjoyed giving to people who needed me. And that's what I did. I was a giver. I have contacts here in Canada. I got hearing aids for free, glasses, I got wheelchairs, you name it, and I could provide it. Didn't cost me anything because I'm an angle shooter. But I was able to acquire these things, and I gave them to the people that needed them. But I was selfish. I never let them show their appreciation to me, because I'm a little critical of people. I'm not a people lover, I don't think, although Joe says I am. But in any event, to shorten my story, one day I got a phone call in my motorhome, and I could just barely get to the phone. It was my daughter calling me from Paris. And I just said, "Help me," and I fainted. I fell onto the motorhome floor. I was sick. I was dying. And my daughter, knowing the people in this town of Boca de Tomatoland, that's about 15 kilometers from Puerto Vallarta, she contacted several people in the town to say, check on my dad, which they did. And they broke into my motorhome, and there I was laying on the floor. And she told them if I'm not well, to put me in the best hospital in Puerto Vallarta. Now, mind you, I was living in Boca, but I didn't have any insurance or anything, and I was living off my pension. I'm just living on a pension. I've got 5.5 years military service, and I'm on a pension. But they didn't cover me in Puerto Vallarta or Boca. So in any event, she contacted these people. They broke in, they got me, put me in an ambulance, put me in the best hospital in Puerto Vallarta. Now, I'm in serious condition. The result was they operated on me. I'm wearing 2 colostomies, one on each side. You know what a colostomy is? Yeah. I pass my balls out, whatever. It's really something. And they also ripped me down the middle and checked everything. And here I was, supposedly a good man. I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I have to admit I don't even have sex because I'm an old guy now. Well, I'm only telling you this because I'm 88 years old and I don't want you people fantasizing about me. In any event, I'm talking myself out of what I'm talking about now. But they did all these operations in me and so on, and I would have died otherwise. So I'm not complete. They had to take out some of my bowel. They found tumors, and goodness knows what they didn't find there. And for a guy that lives such a saintly life, I shouldn't have all this falling apart inside, but I was. And so after a month's time, well, that's the end of the story. I owed them about $60,000. And I had a lot of material things, but, and my daughter, she has a large company in a translation company, but she had just lost $1 million out of her pocket. So she was as poor as the church mouse also. And she was in my position. I didn't have she came to Puerto Vallarta, at Boca, and she sold everything that I owned, including my dog. My car, well, the whole thing, my boats, my motorhomes, I had 2 of them, you know, the whole bit. And she sold everything she could because she needed 60,000 bucks. And so that's part of the story. The other part was that in the course of being helped by the people in town, they donated blood and they donated everything. They were so helpful, I realized that here I've been ingrateful to people and being selfish, not allowing them to show their appreciation to me and enjoying all the pleasures of giving. I realized I was wrong. And I also realized I needed people. You see, I'm not perfect. I thought it was, but I'm not perfect. I guess I need people. And I was fortunate to know Joe. You know Joe, I presume. And I met Joe 15 years ago in Puerto Vallarta. And we get along good because I never came onto her. I never came onto her. So we got along quite good. And so over the period of years, we were quite friendly. But when I got sick, Joe came on the scene, and she was coming back here and got the word to my family, and she said, look her up and she'll look after me. And that is what she's been doing, because now I'm a poor man. I haven't got a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of. I'm living in an establishment for homeless people. But unfortunately I got a few bucks I didn't pay on my visa towards my health that I can pay to this place to live. And that's where I am now. I'm at the stage that Joe has convinced me that I need people. You know, I mean, and when you never needed people all your life, and you've always been the sort of in the charge and not an acceptor, it takes some training to learn that you need people. You know. I could go on and break your heart, but I won't. But in any event, somewhere along the line you're going to learn my name, and it's Thicke, Dacker Thicke. But I have another sickness. I do not borrow money from friends or relatives, and I don't ask people for help. So the result is I'm where you find me now, and that's a pauper. Well, that's the story. We paid off the money to get out of Boca, Puerto Vallarta, and my daughter had to borrow $2,000 to pay a doctor to transport me here. Then I got back to Canada with Joe's help, and the Department of Veterans Affairs, then they took over, and the bill that they had received from from the hospital I was staying at was $230,000. Now, can you imagine? $230,000, and they didn't even do the operation. So if you happen to go to a hospital and you see all these nurses constantly writing things down, I thought they're just keeping track. But if you passed air in a room, $25. You know? This list, all the bottles that hung from the ceiling, and every time that they do anything for you, they marked it down. I had one doctor come in and ask me how I'm feeling so on, and I said, well, you know, as well as a sick person can be. And I got a telephone call a week or so ago, and they wanted to know how they collect this bill of I think $100 and some. That's what he charged me to come and ask me how I felt, you know. And he's charged me for it. So anyway, to make a long story short, and I think this is good clinical treatment for me, because I've never before spoke to a bunch of people. You know, I love it. I'm a con artist. I'm a con artist, and maybe I might be getting hooked on it. But that's my story now. And I'm slowly recovering. I hope. The trouble is, now I have to go back to the hospital because the doctors want to open me up again and check. And of course pay their mortgage also, but to check what's going on. So I'm not completely out of the woods, you know. But thank you again for listening. Oh, and I should tell you that this generosity business, it can be a sickness. And I needed people who needed me. You know, that's what I needed in life. I didn't need to be a celebrity like my family. You know, they may have heard them, but I needed to be needed by somebody. And so I needed Joe. And I think Joe needs me too for some reason or other. You know me, and it's nice to go out with a guy and have a nice dinner and what have you, and not have to worry about now what's going to happen next, you know? Nothing's going to happen next. You know, from here on up, I'm a romanticist. From down there, nada. Anyway, that's my story. And
Doctor,
thank you very much for allowing me.
Thank you for telling us your story, and it's very, very relevant to what we're talking about.
Well, I really want people to understand, it's a wonderful feeling to help people. You know, I worked as a audiologist, not legally, selling hearing aids and so on, and I felt so good when I could give a person a hearing aid and they're thanking me that I've given them hearing, you know? So try it sometime, you know?
Well, something else that is very, very good is knowing how to ask for help and then willing to receive help.
Yeah, but I don't know how to ask for help.
You just did.
This is, yeah, but I'm ready to cry too, because this is
You follow up on that.
I'm sorry, I made your job hard.
Don't apologize.
Made your job hard.
You're here for a reason, and your story was meant to be told.